this is from a book that a really special person to me gave to me years ago, and it's literally falling apart just because I've used it so much. And it's actually for people in recovery of codependency, but I feel like there's so many things in there that can be applied to just anything in life. So this is just one of the daily readings that I really resonate with. Few situations, no matter how greatly they appear to demand it, can be bettered by us going berserk. Don't panic. If a swimmer crossing a great lake then suddenly focused too heavily on the distance remaining, he might start to flounder and go under, not because he couldn't swim, but because he became overwhelmed by panic. Panic, not the task, is the enemy. Many of us have moments when we feel crowded and overwhelmed. We have times when we feel like we cannot possibly accomplish all that needs to be done. We may be facing a task at work, an improvement in ourselves, or change in our family life. For a moment, it is helpful to look forward and envision the project. It is normal when we look ahead at the needs to be done to have moments of panic. Feel the fear, then let it go. Take our eyes off the future and the enormity of the task. If we have envisioned the goal, it will be ours. We do not have to do everything today or at once. Focus on today. Focus on the belief that all is well. All we need to do is reach our goal. All we need to do to reach our goal is to focus on what presents itself naturally and in an orderly way to us today. We shall be empowered to accomplish peacefully what we need to get where we want to be tomorrow. Panic will stop this process. Trust and guided action will further it. Breathe deeply, get peaceful, trust, act as guided today. We can get back on track by treading water until we regain our composure. Once we feel peaceful, we can begin swimming again with confidence. Keep the focus simple on one stroke, one movement at a time. If we can make one movement, we have progressed. If we get tired, we can float, but only if we are relaxed. Before we know it, we shall reach the shore. Today, I will believe that all is well, that I am being led, but I shall only be led one day at a time. I will focus my energy on living this day to the best of my ability. If panic arises, I will stop all activity and deal with the panic as a separate issue.
So I really was thinking, and I was really called to talk about compassion. And I think this week had been, even for me, hitting me in areas that I had to learn about compassion. And it's compassion is something that sort of divides the world at times, and especially in the time that we're in, the politics, the craziness that's going around people saying that I get to have a voice and I get to say whatever I want, no matter how it impacts anybody. And when I looked at this at first, I thought, God, where's the compassion in the world, really? And then, of course, I go in and I start Googling and I look for stories about compassion, and they just start hitting me left and right about the amazing things that people do, small and large. All the saints in this world, as I will call them, because they just do these things in such grace and light and never expect anything from it. I've had friends that, have told me some little stories, and even the smallest pieces of grace, where a very dear friend of mine goes and buys a lunch when she's out at a restaurant for someone else, and is just led by the grace of her heart and through spirit, and expects nothing in return, expects no acknowledgement, but just for that moment to see, or at least know that that family or those people had something very special happen to them, and which in turn will probably pass it forward someday. When I think about compassion, I also start thinking about going inward. And more so even than giving it to everybody else, because that's what I knew I was taught when I was growing up with religion and in my church that I went to. It was always giving out. It was always about giving to others. And I think as we're evolving in this world today, I really see that the answer has to come from within and really go inward into looking for the compassion to ourselves. And that's where it really starts. We can't give out if we don't have that space within ourselves to love ourselves. And how many times have I turned around and done something which I think is stupid, and I go, oh my God, you're such an idiot, Kim. And I have to call myself on it, because would I ever do that compassionately to a friend? I would never. And so it also comes to looking inward and finding that place of self-awareness. And I love Deepak Chopra's talk on compassion, and I thought I would read it. I read it once before as a reading a while ago, but I really thought it was perfect for today. And if anything, close your eyes, just take a moment and hear the words that Deepak has said, because I really believe this is from source and from the grace of all that is. He says, C is for compassion. I will see a stranger today through the eyes of compassion. I will remind myself that this stranger has parents and people who love her, just like me. I will remind myself that this stranger has moments of joy, just like me. I will remind myself that this stranger has moments of suffering and anguish, just like me. I will remind myself that this stranger will grow old, just like me. And I will remind myself that this stranger will go through the cycles of illness and recovery, just like me. And I will remind myself that this stranger will one day die, just like me. Through the eyes of compassion, I know the stranger, not as a stranger anymore, but as a living soul, just like me. So when you look through this world, and you can open your eyes, or you can keep them closed if you like. But I really thought of Deepak's moment of compassion, pulling it inward and really looking at our hearts and finding the love for ourselves that so many times get kicked out of us when we're young, whether it's parents not saying or doing the things that we think we need from them, children that forget to be kind to us, friends who kind of fall short at times, so we think. And we have to go inward and find that compassion within ourselves. I also thought, when I looked out into the world, and my daughter at 8 years old, who's now a young lady and truly an adult, but when she was 8, looking at the news, I said, Mommy, why are they always so sad and nasty to each other? And it hit me between the eyes and in my heart. And I actually have stopped watching the news. I will read things at times, occasionally will watch it and get reminded how much it challenges me. Because also the people who report the news sometimes don't report the compassion that's in this world. They report the darkness in this world. And I remember, Sharon, so long ago, being in a hospital. I think you were visiting someone and you were in the waiting room watching the news, and you were there for a while. And you said CNN came up and it kept repeating the same difficult, horrible stories over and over again. And Sharon called it the loop of doom, which I have to agree with all my heart. And I said, if I focus on that, that is where my focus will be and my energy will go. And I will look at life as the cup half empty and not half full. And then I started thinking about compassion further and wondering why these bad things we think are bad are happening to us. And Spirit called me to a beautiful book that I read to my daughter long ago, and I will pass it around. I'm going to leave them at the center for you all. It's called The Little Soul and the Sun. And if you haven't read it, with all my heart, I encourage you to read it. And those that have are smiling, because it is a beautiful, beautiful book. And this little soul comes across as a little boy, is up in heaven, talking to God, jumping around with joy and happiness. And then the little soul discovers to say, who am I? And God says, who are you? And the little soul says, I am light. God says, that's right. You are perfection and you are light. And after a while, the little soul said, I want to know what it feels like to be light. And God's like, well, you are light. How can you feel? And so it goes on for a little bit and shows all the lights in the world of all the souls that are around us as light. And finally, God says, I can surround you with darkness so that you can know your light, so that you can learn from the darkness. And what do you want to learn? And the little soul said, I want to learn so many things. But in the end, after he labeled a bunch of things, he finally said, I want to learn to forgive. I want my love to come out in forgiveness. So along comes another little girl soul, beautiful little soul that says, I've been with you many lifetimes. I've been with you in many experiences, but I'm here to help you with your forgiveness. I will do this for you and I will give you this gift. And he's jumping around all happy and singing, saying, wonderful. She says, but you're going to have to remember. And he said, I'll always remember you. And she said, no. And she goes into a chest and pulls out a dark cloak. And she covers herself so you can't even see her beautiful little face. And he doesn't recognize her. And she says, when I am on earth, you will not remember me, but you have to promise to try to remember me because I love you. And I will give you this gift because I will hurt you and I will strike you so that you can learn to forgive. And you can use that blessing of love and compassion. But please remember that I love you so much that I will give you this gift. So even when we think sometimes people are not our friends, but they are our challenge, they are our gift. They truly are our gift. And even I will have to remind myself of this when I go through challenges. I have had people where I have had to walk the walk of compassion and I haven't felt very compassionate. I don't know about you, but I've been under attack at times. I call my life chutes and ladders because sometimes I'm at the top where people are kind and loving, and then something happens and I'm with people who are not so kind and loving and challenge me to be empathetic and caring. And I've learned about compassion that it's so easy when we start learning about compassion that we mirror people. So when you're with someone who's close to you, and it's even harder when it's someone who's close to you and you love and you care about, when they say something that feels like it's not compassion coming gently from their heart, we tend to mirror back to them their actions. If they're unkind, I'll pull away. If you're going to be mean to me, I'm not going to say anything to you, or I'm going to say something mean back, even if it's in the most subtle way. And I've even had to call myself on that, saying, don't mirror that person. Because in compassion, I have to come to that level in myself to say, where are they coming from? And most of the time, it's usually out of fear or naivety or something that's hurting them. So being a compassionate person isn't always easy. And also, I encourage you, don't judge yourself if you're not always compassionate. This is our journey. This is our challenge. This is where we're called to be in this life. And the people we sometimes love the most are our greatest angels in our life to teach us. I have a friend, she's lovely. I've known her for many, many years. And she got divorced. And sadly, her husband was doing a lot of things that led her to the divorce. She has 3 children. 3 boys are lovely. And I understood the reason why she finally divorced after trying so hard. And I think when she was going through the beginning of it, she would chew off her own arm before she would forgive her husband. And I said to her, I hope you find the grace someday. I know he's tough and he truly is a challenge, but it's something where I will never judge you for not forgiving at the moment because I get it. We all have been in this place of pain. And I also see that through time, day by day, it chips away at her as she mellows through this. And it's only a year or two out, but the difference in her, I don't even think she sees herself, but it's there. And she still can't say that she forgives him, but her path is in front of her. And I think he is one of her greatest challenges. I even think my ex-husband is actually my soulmate because he was here to challenge me in this lifetime to go beyond the pain, beyond the hurt that we shared with each other, and to remember the love that we had. And it took years. It wasn't overnight, but it came. And now I look at him truly with eyes of compassion and a heart of compassion, and knowing that in this lifetime, he was one of my greatest gifts. So I tell you today, look for the compassion within yourself and start with yourself. Even before you look out on the journey to forgive or love or compare yourself to others or trying to find that compassion, go inward and love yourself. And the next time you do something stupid or you think is stupid, be nice and say, you know what, I made a mistake. I'm going to just try again the next time. And I know I'm really loved. And you are a light. You all are a light. And you all are a gift. Gift of